Hi, this is Annie from the ADHD Minimalist, and today I'd like to talk about some rules that I have when I'm shopping. And I do have two different sets of rules. One is for clothing, and the other set of rules is for encompasses everything else that you buy except for groceries. Today we're talking about all of the other things that you buy, like home decor, lamps, screwdrivers, anything, you name it. So I have some rules that I have to ask myself before I buy things, because otherwise I bring in way too many things into our home and I can't get as many items out in the same amount of time. So I had to kind of stop shopping for a hobby, because I used to do that a lot and I would love to go shopping, and then of course I would always bring things home and it just got to be too much. I also had to curb some of my collections. But I did find that having some collections also gives you something to look for if you're out doing thrift stores or shopping, and you have a certain kind of collection. Sometimes if it's a little bit harder to find items, you can still have the fun of that hunt looking for something. And if it's a little bit more rare types of things that you're collecting, then it takes a while for that collection to get to be too big. We're going to go over my rules here for buying pretty much anything except clothes and food. So, number one, I have to know how and where I will use the item. Now, this can apply to screwdrivers as well as things that you hang on the wall, but I do know I'm originally from the United States, and sometimes I've been back to the States visiting, and I'll go into Hobby Lobby or some of my other stores that I used to love to go to when I lived in the States, and I'll come out of Hobby Lobby with several pictures or fun signs or something that I think I'm going to bring back to Sweden and hang on my walls. And then I get home and I get them out of my bag and I'm like, oh, I kind of forget that when I'm in the States that my house is actually quite small. And so a lot of this stuff just doesn't fit on my walls. My ceiling is also sloped, as you can see, so I don't have a lot of space to even hang stuff. So sometimes I brought stuff home and I've got it out and I've been like, oh, I should learn my lesson. I don't have space for lots of wall hangings. So that's why I made this rule that I have to know exactly where I'm going to have it. So if it's a wall hanging, I have to know exactly where I'm going to hang that up when I get home. And if I have to take something else down, I need to know that it's okay for me to get rid of that item, because some of the stuff on our walls, sort of family things that we've gotten. So there's a river behind our house in this picture that we got from my husband's parents for Christmas one year. The artist was standing just a little bit ways down the road and looking towards us and painting the river. And so that's really special, because it's this area right where we live, and it's also been in David's family. And so some of this stuff is stuff that it's on our walls and we don't have a lot of wall space, and I don't want to replace it. So if I can't say where I'm going to hang the picture, then I just have to leave it in the store and enjoy it in the store. So that can go for other things as well. So there's certain items that you could accumulate more of them, you use them up. But for all of these items that don't really get used up, it's good to kind of think about where you're going to use it and how you're going to use it and where you're going to store it. So that's number one. Number two is, if the item does not work like I thought it would, I have to be willing to take it back. And if I'm standing in the store and the store is far away from my house and I realize that it's not worth my time and effort to take this back if it doesn't work out, then I need to leave it in the store. And this is if there's any guesswork involved in the purchase, that I need to ask myself this. And sometimes there's things that you're buying and you know right away that it's going to work and you don't have to worry about this. But if there's any guesswork at all in the purchase, be willing to take it back if you buy it. Number three, it has to match things that I already own. And that would be in general, it needs to fit into my living room decor if it's going to live in my living room. It needs to fit into my bedroom decor if it's going to live in my bedroom. A few years ago, I had to curb some of my collections. I had a lot of collections. I had collections of teacups in blue and white. I had collections of vintage vases and pottery. I had some other collections, but some of them just got too big. The blue and white stuff, I still have some of it, but I sort of scaled it down. And the vases, I decided to keep, I believe it's 4 different kinds of vases, and they're made in pottery, and they were made in Sweden. And so sometimes I can find these vases at secondhand stores. And seriously, I made a rule for myself about 4 years ago that I could only buy more vases if I found the exact same kinds, and they're a little bit hard to find. And so even though I've been at a lot of secondhand stores and I always kind of keep an eye out for more of them, I haven't seen that many of them. it's not easy for my collection to just sort of like go bananas, I ask myself, does it match something that I already have? And if it doesn't match, then it has to stay in the store. It also has to be perfect. So that was another thing. The reason I haven't bought more vases in the last 5 years is not only because they're hard to find, it's also because they had a chip on the edge, or they were a little bit cracked, or something else was wrong with them. And so that is why I didn't buy them, because the other rule is that they have to be perfect. Don't buy it if it's not perfect. It won't gain value if it's a vintage piece if it's not in good shape, unless it's so rare that there really aren't any whole vases that are like this. And I don't think that any of my collection is that rare or expensive, but there could be a few exceptions to that. But most cases, vintage items seem to be in really good shape for them to gain value over time. And that would be the same with anything else. If you find something in the store that you want to buy and there's something wrong with it, leave it there. If you find something in the store and you bought it home and you find that it's broke when you get home, be willing to take it back. So number 5, the exchange system. And I'm honestly not a really big fan of the one in, one out thing, and that is because it could be used in a way to just like buy new things all the time, which I don't really feel like is what minimalism is about. So I mean, it is of course about like having less things in your home and only the things that you need and you love, but it's also about being healthy for the environment and not demanding that the world uses up all of its resources to produce new things all the time. I'm thinking if you use the one in, one out thing, try to do what I do and think of it as a secondhand exchange. So if I buy something new from the secondhand store, then I can leave something at the secondhand store and it's a win-win. When I buy new items, I try to make sure that I really do need a new item before I buy it. I try not to do like this one in, one out all the time with new items, because it's easy to just get caught up in this like, oh, I need to have new things all the time and I have to get rid of something. And it's sort of like a license to go out and just buy things that maybe you don't really need. Then I have the rule number 6 is no impulse buying. If I buy something on the internet, I put the stuff in your shopping cart and you let it sit there for 24 to 48 hours. And if you still think you need it after that, then you can buy it. I find a lot of the times that I just leave stuff in the cart, and next time when I actually do need something, I end up deleting those things that were just sort of like things I weren't sure about it, or I didn't really need it, or I realized the next day that I really didn't want to spend that much money on something, and then I can just leave it there because I've had time to think. The same with stuff in the store. I mean, like if you're not really sure about something, if you can just go do some other errands and then come back later to the store and see if it's still there. If you're not really sure about it, that can be a good way just to give yourself some time to think. So you're not just like impulse buying and then you get home and you do get some dopamine and some other like reward chemicals from buying things. But the thing is, if you get home and then you realize you spent too much money or you bought things that you don't really like or need, then you kind of get depressed about it. And so shopping can go both ways. I mean, it can both be rewarding and it can be depressing. And so if you bring things home that you actually do really like and you do really use and enjoy and need, then you can keep a lot more of those dopamine. So it's good to be picky. It's good for your mental health as well. These were my rules. I can quickly run through them again. I have to know, oh, sorry, my nose is really itching. Man, in Sweden they say if your nose itches, that somebody's thinking about you. Maybe my husband's thinking about me. Okay, my rules were, where and how will I use the item? I have to be willing to take it back if it doesn't work out the way I thought. It has to match the stuff that I already have. It has to be perfect. It has to... If it's not something that I necessarily need, I have to get it on the exchange system, which is buying something from the secondhand store and leaving something at the secondhand store. And don't impulse buy. So those are my 6 rules for buying items for my home or any other useful item that we have around the house or in the garage. And I hope this is helpful for you. I find that a lot of times if I can just step back and just allow myself to think about things, then I don't buy as many items. And so if you can just kind of relax when you're shopping and not get into this, oh, there's a sale and I have to get a bunch of stuff on sale and I have to get it before all the other people do. And you sort of get all hyped up and then you end up buying a bunch of stuff that you can get home and you just sort of take a dip because, oh, I really should take all this stuff back. And can I take it back because it was on sale? And what kind of policy do they have? And when will I go back to the store? And usually you end up realizing that you just wasted a lot of money. And so I've been in that boat before, and I do understand the thing about sales. Like, I am a sucker for a good sale, and that's usually when I like impulse buy the most, is if there's a sale. And so I have to kind of be careful about just asking these questions about items, especially if they're sale items. And also just trying to like take a step back and relax and take a deep breath and realize that if this item just were to disappear and somebody else were to take it while I'm thinking about it, it's not the end of the world. It'll just actually save me a little bit of money and a little bit of space in my wardrobe, and maybe I'll find something that I like better later. So I hope this was helpful for you. I'm sort of a recovering shop-a-holic, you could say. I love to shop. I used to do that as a hobby. And like if we would go on vacation, my husband wants to do nature hikes and I just wanted to shop. So we just sort of grown closer together over the years, and now I enjoy nature more, and I don't know if he really enjoys shopping, but he'll do it with me every once in a while. But we try to only shop when we actually need to buy things. And we actually had a fun experience this last weekend. We were 3 hours away in another town, and it's because I had to go to the bank, and they don't have the bank that I needed here where we live. And so we spent the night at a nice hotel, and we did some shopping. It was like right in the area where in Sweden you have areas where you just kind of like walk around shopping areas in the middle of town and in the middle of these old stone buildings that were built in the 1800s. And so it was kind of fun just to like walk around and see all the old buildings and stuff, and like sit at some cafes and sip a nice coffee. We don't have a lot of coffee shops where we live either. Like a lot of those fun things surrounding the shopping, but we also had a list of things to get for my husband's sister and his work and a few other things. And so we kind of made a thing out of just like enjoying shopping, but it wasn't only for us. And so it was sort of a way to like, I don't know, get a dopamine high and to like enjoy going into stores and looking at things and then buying things for other people, and trying to only buy the things that we actually needed ourselves. So you have to kind of be careful then if you're going to go to stores and buy things for a lot of other people and you're like taking 10 items for yourself every time, because that might not work. But I just kind of realized that I can still enjoy shopping and having fun shopping, and I don't always have to do it for me. Sometimes my husband's parents need things, and they're older and they don't like to get out and walk all over the store. And so sometimes I can have a fun experience or take a friend along and go do some shopping, kind of like I used to, but not in the same way. And so I don't end up bringing back as many items as I would have in the past. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, just give us a thumbs up. And if you need some other inspiration about how to start simplifying your life or how to declutter, I did a video about where to start when you have no time or you have small children and you have like other life obstacles, so that you don't want to start decluttering the whole house at once and make a huge mess that you have to take care of after the declutter. So if you need a simple way to start, go ahead and check out my channel and you can watch that video. Good luck. Bye.